colleges can now pay their college athletes.
It's kind of flew under the radar slightly for us just because of the Don Waddell thing, but we were going to probably lead with this today.
Hidden in the language of the big settlement that's been all the news between NCAA and the college conferences and former players, I think it's because the numbers are so astronomical. The settlement is $2.7 billion. So conferences, schools, over the next 10 years have to pay $2.7 billion to former athletes. And anytime you start throwing around billion with a B, everybody's eyes just go right to that, right? Just like, ooh, a lot of money. Well, mixed into that settlement is, as part of the recent buyout, ESPN is reporting that their sources have said the parties, meaning the conferences and the NCAA, also have agreed to a revenue-sharing plan allowing each school to share up to roughly $20 million per year with its athletes. Meaning the current athletes that are playing for their school right now can be shared with roughly $20 million. That is different than the payments we've been seeing by players recently. This is not name, image, and likeness. This is not, some restaurant on Franklin Street wants to, have the quarterback in their social media ads, so they give a meal to the quarterback and the offensive lineman every Thursday for free. This is not a agreement with an NIL collective where the boosters of the collective raise a bunch of money and then divvy it up to the incoming recruits and transfers. This is different than that. This is money from the athletics program, from the school to the players. This has never happened before. I don't know how far back college sports goes. Over a century. This means schools can pay players for the first time in its existence. Now, you will not hear me say this is a bad thing because I think it's a good thing. I think it's fair. Right? Players, I've done a lot of covering college sports over the last 10 years. I've been in this argument a whole bunch of times. I hear you when you lament that, well, the money made off of football, men's basketball, and maybe one or two other sports on campus funds the Olympic sports or funds some of the women's sports or funds other non-revenue sports. And if you start having to take the profits from football and basketball to pay football and basketball players, who's going to fund the other sports? I hear you. I get it. I also would lament if any of those sports are marginalized or done away with. But I don't know why you can't treat it like any other program on campus. Right? The choir probably isn't bringing in a whole bunch of money, but somehow the school finds a way to pay for the choir. If the fencing team isn't bringing in a whole bunch of money, why is it on the football team or the basketball team or a revenue sport to fund fencing? Right? If somebody is making millions and millions of dollars off of attendance and merchandise sales from you playing a sport, why wouldn't you be entailed to that money? Instead, it goes to the track program. That's not the way it works. That is the way it has worked, but it's not the way it should work. I'm in favor of getting what you're earned. That is important and that is fair. And there's a cap on this, right? It is a revenue share. So $20 million per year, roughly, that's the most you can give. So there will be schools that can't attain that. There will be schools that can't afford to pay their athletes $20, but there will be a whole bunch that can, right? So it's not like, Georgia and Alabama are going to be paying $75 million and teams that are trying to compete with them for a national championship are going to be paying $15. There will be dozens and dozens and dozens of schools. I don't know why I said 3 dozens. There'll be 50 plus schools that can afford the $20 million. Probably more than that, actually, if I really think about it.
Possibly.
And those are the schools that, have been the realistic competitors for the major Division I national championships already.
By the way, there's an article on WREL Sports Fan about this. Brian Murphy all over this as well. He kind of put the paying of athletes basically in layman's terms. And like I said, in the new compensation model, each school will be permitted but not required to set aside up to actually close to $21 million in revenue to share with athletes per year. though as revenues rise, so could that cap. But again, schools are allowed to do it, permitted, but not required to do it. So athletes in all sports will be eligible for payments, and schools will be given the freedom to decide how that money is divvied up among other sports. But that just raises more questions, like does Title IX equity laws and things along those lines factor into this as well? Are they going to be considered employees if you're paying them? Which brings up a whole mess of other things you got to get into. This is only, I think, scratching the surface of what's going to be. It's also crazy to think it was just 3 years ago that we got NIL. Now we're already here.
Yes, the acceleration.
Like it's how fast it's happened.
It's the whole, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once you open the door an inch, somebody's going to blow it open and run right through. But you brought up a very interesting kind of debate, right? Because everything, and I play college sports. Dennis, you've played and coached college sports. I obviously have friends and family that have played college sports. Everything the school has like officially given to players up until this point has been equal, right? And sure, certain, star players might get a little more gear, right? Or might get a little bit more attention or whatever. But scholarship stipends were the same whether you were third string left tackle or whether you were a starting quarterback or a defensive player. We used to call it training camp Christmas. With the day you walk into training camp and your locker is filled with all your new gear, it's not like, I'll use your sneaker example. It's not like, hey, super rare Jordan 3s for the starting offensive line, and we got some dunks for the backups. Like it's not that. Everybody got the same thing. This gives the team, the school, the program, the opportunity to say, our star running back is worth $400,000 per year. Here you go. Our backup running back is worth $30,000 per year. Right? They get to divvy it up, or they have the opportunity to say, no, we're chopping it up even. Everybody gets the same amount. Doesn't matter if you're the star who everybody's buying their jersey, or if you are somebody on the bench. We all practice the same. We're all getting paid the same. The way the programs attack it will be very, very interesting. And you may say, oh, everyone's going to do the same thing. Clemson doesn't take transfers.
Mm-hmm.
They have 0 incoming transfers, Clemson. So not everyone looks at all these new rules and deals with it the same. Do you think Dabo Swinney might say everybody gets the exact same amount of money on my team?
Probably.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you think somebody might say, hey, we're a small school, but we have $8 million for a starting quarterback, and we think bringing in the best quarterback in the country will level up our program more so than dividing that up and bringing in a whole bunch of lesser recruits at a bunch of different positions? I don't know. This is all new. But what we're seeing, like Dabo bucking the trend, Deion Sanders bucking the trend in the other direction at Colorado, so many teams trying to figure out where they fit in the new ecosystem. I feel like this is just gasoline on the fire, right? Oh, you're trying to figure out where you fit in? Well, what if we just sprinkle $20 million over everybody in the country and go, does that shake things up? It's like they're already in a gladiator style, Coliseum style, coaches and like live tigers and bears are in the Coliseum. And now somebody's just like, you know what? Large hunks of red meat. Throw in the red meat. Like what can we do to just really fire up these crazy, crazed animals out there? $20 million per year from school to athletes if they choose. What if there's a program that just says, we elect not to?
That's fine.
We're going to take that $20 million that everyone else is spending on players, and we're going to spend it on, I don't know, coaches, facilities. We're going to spend it on pay games. So we're just going to buy a whole bunch of wins every year. We're going to pay every bad group of 5 team to come play us at home. Like, I don't know. There's an opportunity cost to everything, right? What if the cap goes up?
It's a can of worms.
Is there a contract? Is there a, hey, if we're a school and we're paying somebody, $100,000 on a redshirt year, we want something in writing that says they're not going to redshirt here, take our $100,000, and before they ever play a down for us, go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
hey, we're going to print up a bunch of jerseys to sell with your name on the back. If you leave, you're on the hook for paying us for those jerseys. In the NFL, if you change your jersey number, you have to buy all of the ones they've already printed of your old jersey number. That's like a fact.
Mm-hmm.
I was just listening to a podcast with Kirk Cousins because he wanted number 8. That's what he's been his whole career. And Kyle Pitts, who wears number 8 for the Falcons, said, yeah, but I'm not going to pay like the money that they pay. Like they're going to charge me for changing my number if I'm changing it for you. So if you cover that number, then yeah, you can have number 8. And then Kirk said, I asked, what's the number? And he gave him a number, and I went, oh, no. And Kirk Cousins is making $100 million on his contract. And he was like, absolutely not. So, players don't want to be on the hook for that. I don't know. The contracts, the employee status, buckle up. There's going to be more court rulings coming up here shortly. I almost guarantee.